Hello, I'm Tony Mangino from TC2, and this is Staying Connected, the podcast where we talk about what really matters to enterprise buyers navigating today's technology and sourcing decisions. I'm joined again today by Larry York, my colleague here at TC2, and we're talking about something that quietly drives a lot of enterprise technology decisions, and that's the renewal calendar. Now, here's the thing. A renewal date is not a strategy, it's a deadline. But in a lot of organizations, those deadlines start to take over. Contract expirations, notice windows, supplier proposals, and budget cycles begin driving decisions that should be tied to a larger strategic roadmap. The pattern is familiar. The customer extends a deal because there isn't time to compete it, accepts the supplier's migration path, or delays modernization because the contract calendar and strategy simply aren't lined up. Larry, welcome back to Staying Connected. And let's talk about why this happens so often.
Thanks, Tony. Good to be back. It happens because renewals create pressure, and pressure narrows options. When a contract event is coming up, the organization has to make a decision. If the roadmap is unclear or stakeholders aren't aligned, the safest looking move is often an extension or quick renewal. Sometimes that's right, but sometimes that tactical move locks in cost, limits flexibility, and pushes better decisions further down the road. Renewals are unavoidable. The issue is when the renewal becomes a strategy instead of supporting it.
That's a useful way to look at it, Larry. Renewals are part of the life cycle, but they're not the planning model.
Exactly. Enterprise customers are managing complex environments across network, mobility, managed services, software, and other related categories. Each has its own timelines, notice requirements, contract terms, and operational constraints. If those timelines aren't mapped against the roadmap, the customer can end up negotiating under pressure.
And so then timing becomes leverage for the supplier.
It sure can. Suppliers know when transition risk is high and when the customer doesn't have time to complete the work, migrate away, or build a strong business case. If the enterprise hasn't prepared early, the supplier can control the pace and the narrative. That's when customers accept terms they wouldn't accept with more time and credible alternatives.
Larry, what does a strategy look like when it's built to survive that renewal calendar?
Tony, it all starts with visibility. The customer needs to know what agreements are in place, when they expire, what commitments remain, and which services are tied to which business functions. But visibility by itself isn't enough. A spreadsheet of dates is helpful, but it's not a plan. The renewal calendar has to connect to architecture, sourcing, finance, legal, and operations because contract dates affect technology and commercial decisions. Take WAN modernization. The question isn't only which SD-WAN technology and transport underlay makes sense. The customer also needs to know when legacy transport contracts expire and whether the sourcing timeline supports a credible move.
So that renewal calendar needs to become part of the roadmap, not something that's just sitting off to the side.
That's right. Strategy should answer practical questions. What are we changing? Why are we changing it? And when do we need to act? If those questions aren't answered early, the customer may have a solid vision, but not an executable plan.
In your experience, where did these large, complex organizations typically get stuck?
One common issue is treating architecture, sourcing, and contracting as separate steps. The technology team decides what it wants, sourcing goes to market, and legal gets pulled in at the end. For complex programs, that often creates problems. The commercial model can determine whether the strategy is workable. If commitments are too high, back-end transition rights are weak, or renewal mechanics favor the supplier, execution gets harder. Another issue is simply starting too late. By the time notice windows arrive, there may not be enough time to build requirements, align stakeholders, engage suppliers, evaluate options, negotiate, contract, and transition.
The irony here is then that the customer is left choosing between a rushed decision and an extension.
Exactly right. Extensions are not automatically bad. A short extension that creates time for a better process can be smart, but a long extension that trades away leverage because the organization wasn't ready, that's different.
What can enterprise customers do differently if they want to stop being controlled by the calendar?
They can start by getting the contract picture into a form leadership can actually trust. And I don't just mean expiration dates. You need notice windows, commitments, renewal rights, transition rights, and the operational dependencies behind each agreement. The question is, what does this date force us to decide?
A date on a calendar doesn't tell you whether you have leverage or whether you're about to lose it.
That's right. Once you have that view, connect the contract calendar to the technology roadmap. A renewal might be a chance to modernize, a risk because you're not ready, or a trigger that says, we need to decide now, or we'll lose options later.
So it's not just contract administration, it's a planning tool.
Yes. And those planning decisions need to happen before the supplier starts driving the conversation. The enterprise should have a point of view well in advance. Are we renegotiating, extending for a reason, competing the business, using this as part of a larger transformation?
That's right. But, we've seen time and again that once the supplier's proposal becomes the center of gravity, it can be hard to reset the conversation.
Very hard. If the supplier shows up before the customer has aligned internally, everyone starts reacting to the supplier's position.
And that's where runway comes in.
Absolutely. For major categories, customers almost always need more time than they think. Requirements, alignment, negotiation, contracting, and transition all take time.
And when that timeline gets compressed, we all know what happens. The customer usually starts giving things up.
That's the risk. When time gets squeezed, leverage gets squeezed with it. You may still get a deal done, but not the deal you could have achieved with better preparation. Or you may accept an extension that solves one problem only to create a bigger one next cycle.
So, Larry, what keeps this from becoming another just static planning exercise?
Governance, not more meetings for the sake of meetings, but a real operating rhythm that keeps the roadmap alive. The organization should regularly review upcoming events and ask, what decisions do we need to make now so we still have options 12 to 18 months from now?
So, the goal really is to look ahead before the supplier or the deadline forces that issue.
That's exactly right. That's how you move from reacting to renewal dates to managing them. It changes the posture of the enterprise. You're not waiting for the incumbent to define the choices. You're making decisions with time, facts, and options.
And that's really the difference between a renewal calendar that controls the strategy and a strategy that uses the renewal calendar intelligently.
That's the whole point. Renewal readiness is strategic readiness.
Larry, what questions should our listeners be asking inside their own organizations?
Start with the basics. Do we know every major renewal date and notice window? Are technology decisions aligned with contracting timelines? Then let's go deeper. Do we have enough runway to create credible alternatives? Are we extending because it's smart or because we ran out of time? Those questions reveal whether the enterprise is managing the calendar or being managed by it.
And what should customers avoid?
Avoid treating renewals as administrative events. Avoid assuming the incumbent's proposal is the natural starting point. Avoid waiting for a supplier deadline to create urgency. And avoid extensions without understanding what options you may be giving up. The risk is not just paying too much, although that matters. The bigger risk is losing the ability to move when the business needs to move.
The key takeaway is that strong IT strategy has to survive real world timing. Architecture, sourcing, contracting, finance, and operations all need to line up before the renewal calendar removes options. Larry, any final thoughts today?
The best time to build leverage is before you need it. Enterprise customers that connect their roadmap to their renewal calendar make better decisions because they have time, facts, and credible options. Customers that wait too long negotiate from urgency. Once urgency takes over, the supplier usually has the stronger hand.
And I think that's a great place to leave it for today. To our listeners, if you'd like to discuss how an upcoming renewal aligns with your larger strategic sourcing roadmap, or if you'd like to discuss other technology strategy, sourcing, and cost reduction needs with Larry, me, or any of our TC2 and LB3 colleagues, please give us a call or shoot us an email. You can also stay current by subscribing to Staying Connected, by checking out our websites, and by following us on LinkedIn.